Hello, everyone. Welcome to our final post-game Facebook Live show. I am here with Ryan Wood. If you haven't met either of us yet for some reason, if you haven't been to any of our post-game shows, my name's Olivia Reiner. It's good to have you all here. We'll sort of wait as some people trickle in to really get going into our conversation, but please do leave your questions. We're happy to address anything within reason. I'd say keep it classy, nothing too ridiculous, but yeah, we have a lot to talk about. Not necessarily about the game, but the Packers' future as it comes to
season's over.
Time to look for a head coach.
That was fun, huh? 31-0.
Yes, Andy said we lost today. The Packers did lose. Zach is relieved that the season is over.
Yeah, the first word in my quick gamer was mercifully. It was a merciful ending. Just put them. Yeah, you know what? Some good things are actually happening to the Packers today. First of all, they lost. So if you're in the let's get a better draft pick camp, congratulations. 31-0 is one way to get a better draft pick. Secondly, the Falcons won. The Panthers won against the Saints team that didn't have Drew Brees. So they're up to 12th now. And then the Broncos are in the game at halftime against the Chargers. That would move them up one slot. And the Bengals, I think, are beating the Steelers, which is pretty surprising. So they could get as high as 10th. I mean, that's kind of what – this is the tank alert. That's where the season has ended.
Brian wants to know what Snarky Ryan is like compared to regular Ryan. They're kind of the same person.
Yeah, they are. It's called self-interest. I mean, look, when it's 31-0, I need to be entertained somehow. So yes, it's very natural, I would say.
You're doing it to help yourself. You need to keep yourself.
It's all about me.
Yes. Everything revolves around Ryan. So
staying away.
We'll kind of gloss over the game really quickly because a lot of
that's kind of what the Packers did. So
yeah, I mean they were hardly.
They glossed over the game too.
So everyone kind of seems to be expressing their discontent with the game. Right off the bat, Davante Adams is out, so there's not a whole lot for Packers fans to look forward to in terms of a storyline panning out over the game.
Well, so people are mad that the Packers lost today? Because they were mad that the Packers won last week. Make up your mind. Which way will it be? I'm confused now because it's either – all right, so last week they went in overtime, and it's like – gosh darn it, they have a worse draft pick now, and now they lose and they get a better draft pick, and it's I can't keep up. Anyway, the big news. There are two big news pieces today. One, Aaron Rodgers leaves midway through the second quarter with a concussion. DeShone Kizer comes in. If you were looking for any improvement, I don't think you saw it. So I mean, the interception you had to Quandre Diggs was real bad. It was a chuck it up and pray.
I think either of us might have been able to make that.
Not at all that unlike the opener in Chicago against Chicago. Not where he threw it up and Khalil Mack picked it off. Quandre Diggs is not Khalil Mack, so he didn't score a touchdown, but it's the same play. So that wasn't great for them. As far as I mean, it just reminded me with Davante Adams of 2016 where. He had a 1,000-yard season in 2016. Not officially, but he had 1,015 yards because he had an 18-yard reception nullified because of a penalty that did not impact the play one way or the other. And he ended with 997 that year. He ends this year going through 16 weeks. Davante Adams is staring at statistically the greatest receiving season in the Packers' 100-year history. One catch shy of Sterling Sharp's 112 in 1993, 134 yards shy of Jordy Nelson's 15-19 in 2014. Both those records were in his sights. Inactive today. I probably shouldn't have been this shocked because he didn't practice all week with the knee injury, but he injured his knee early in New York. He plays the entire game, catches the game-winning touchdown in overtime. I tweeted that this was as shocked as I've been on this beat that he did not play today, was not able to give it a go with that knee injury. It must be bad. Like our Jim Rosarski said, he must be hurt. I mean, it must not be great if he couldn't go today. I mean, I kind of thought, I don't know what you thought, I kind of thought that they would if nothing else, just dump him a couple slip screens, get the record, sit him the rest of the day. I was stunned that he didn't play.
Yeah, it's interesting considering the fact that he's been talking a lot this season about the respect factor and what it takes to earn respect in this league. And listen, Davante Adams, his accomplishments alone should warrant the respect that he deserves.
Well, I think today was the greatest example of how darn good he is. I mean, at least, if nothing else, the Packers' offense has struggled all year. It's been bad all year. But they were 9th in total offense heading into today. They've moved the football pretty much all season. They just haven't finished drives. That offense completely disintegrated without Devontae Adams on the field, and it was before Deshaun Kaiser took over. I mean, they had 13 yards with Aaron Rodgers in the first quarter. Aaron Rodgers was 3 for 5 with 26 yards and 5.2 average. We're talking like without their best receiver, and Devontae Adams, he's talked about the blessing and curse of having Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, the fact that any production kind of gets attributed to the quarterback. Today proved that's not what it is. Devontae Adams is really, really good. He's one of the best receivers in the league, and you saw that today in his lone absence with just how bad the offense was without him.
So not to drive the nails into the coffin any further, but I'll just read some stats to ponder from the game.
Oh, boy.
The Packers had, 9 total first downs.
I did not know that. They didn't even get 10.
9.
Ouch.
It's a season low. Another season low.
I believe that.
Total net yards, 175.
Yeah.
So
67 at halftime, 13 in the first quarter. So it got better.
Okay, all right, but still season low.
Who says I'm negative? I'm so positive.
And then one last stat for you guys. Third down efficiency.
Oh, boy.
The season average was 37.2.
Yeah, season average was not good.
Not good. And they managed to go even lower than that, 31%.
Yeah, that's worse.
So those were some of the highlights, lowlights, if you will, from the Packers game today. One highlight, Bashaud Breeland set the longest, I believe, kick return
Did
for
he
the
really?
season. It was 38 yards.
I don't remember it.
So
That's a
if
good
you're
memory.
looking for something to hold on to, that might be it.
Yeah.
From this game anyway.
But no, the draft picks.
Well, yes.
They
and
have the draft picks to hold
Okay,
on
so
to.
with
There you
that, let's look ahead because I think people are over this game already.
Yes.
I think they were over the game before they even started.
Yes.
It even
Packers
started.
were over the game before kickoff.
So just a lot of people, Josh asked about, he gave us 2 choices for a future head coach. A lot of people have been asking about Pat Fitzgerald, about Josh McDaniels.
If I had to guess which one,
If you
Fitzgerald.
Ooh, wow, okay.
If I had to guess which one.
Which is
I'm not saying Pat Fitzgerald's the next head coach. I'm not breaking any news here. I'm just giving my guess of who was being more likely of the two.
Mm-hmm. Really? Because that's interesting to me because you've been pretty outspoken about the fact that the Packers should not choose a head coach from the college ranks. And you still feel that way.
Yeah, it's a risk. I mean, look, I could be easily proven wrong. I mean, Mark Murphy and Brian Gutekunst know what they're looking for and what makes a good head coach more than I do. That's why I'm not a GM or president. So I'm not, going out on a limb and saying that all is wrong if they do that. But it's a big risk, especially a defensive guy. To me, if you go out and you hire a college coach who has no NFL experience, you do that because he's an offensive genius, brilliant with scheme, and he can fix that offense that really desperately needs fixing. The defense needs to improve. It doesn't need fixing. The defense is on the right track. The offense, I mean, they've got to figure that out. So a defensive college coach, it's a tough sell, but he's a name that I heard very early on in this process, one of many. They're going to talk to a ton of people. In case Jim Caldwell and Chuck Pagano interviews did not show that to you. But on top of that, Mark Murphy, the connection there, it's obvious. So, yeah, I would, and conversely, I haven't heard Josh McDaniels' name. I just, I've read Josh McDaniels' name. I've seen it in print. I haven't heard it. So that doesn't mean that he's not a candidate, but I've heard one. I've not, as a point of interest, I've not heard the other.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see Pat Fitzgerald in the NFL.
You covered him.
I did, yes. I went to
didn't cover
Northwestern,
him.
so
Yeah.
he's got a good reputation among the student body at Northwestern. People seem to really like him. Not that means so much in terms of what he means for an NFL locker room, but that being said, he was asked today. I believe there was media availability before the Holiday Bowl.
Northwestern. Okay, what was he asking?
Out in San Diego. So he spoke to the media today in San Diego before the Holiday Bowl. They play tomorrow against Utah. He kind of just said he wasn't going to address rumors. And that was that.
So that was the non-denial denial. Okay.
So he really did not address anything.
Leaves the door open.
It was kind of funny. He said at the end of his statement, he said #Go Cats. Like he said hashtag. He said hashtag.
Oh man, that's when you know they're serious.
Yes. So
he said hashtag.
Very fits. So anyway, so that was what he had to say about the rumors. So who knows?
That's not shutting the door.
It wasn't. It wasn't a no. It wasn't
interesting.
It wasn't a yes or a no.
Is Brian saying Peyton Manning? I'd like to see a guy that's actually coached before. I mean, that would make more sense, I would think. But some could say he was his own coach for a few years there in Indy.
Now I don't know.
Coach Jordy Nelson. No. I mean, he's playing right now. Who knows? Maybe this is last year. No.
Yes, I saw someone asked about if we saw a photo. I believe the team photographer Evan, who I believe used to work for the Press Gazette, took a photo of Aaron Rodgers and Randall Cobb embracing before the game. Mm-hmm. He had asked if we'd seen it. I saw it. Did you see it?
I did not see it. I heard about it. Did not see it.
It's a beautiful photo.
Is it?
It really is. And it's Randall is tearing up. You can't see.
Is he?
Yeah, he's definitely choked up. This is taken before the game. And Aaron, you can't see his face, but he's got his arm around him, consoling him. But it was a very powerful photo. I thought it was.
I think in Cyro, I think I'm getting your name right. Ciro asked 4 guys: Cobb, Matthews, Perry, and Balaga. I think Perry's gone. They need to save cap space there. I think Cobb's gone. I think Cobb also probably knows. I mean, it's just a vibe I get from talking with him in the locker room today, the photo. I think he knows he's gone. I think Clay Matthews is just, I feel like it's close to 50-50 right now. Talking with him a few times, he seems to not know what's going to happen. And it's interesting because he's never been in this position before because he never became a free agent, 5 years ago whenever he had his last contract extension. So this is very new, and he's going to hit the market, or he's going to get at least close to hitting the market. I think he could be back, though. I think there's a decent chance that he could be back as well if it's the right deal. Bring him back, not to rush the passer for 80% of snaps, but to be a part-time pass rusher and playing a lot off the ball, kind of a rover position. And then Balaga, I would say, of the 4, I would say Balaga's got the best chance to be back. It's hard to find right tackles. It just is. It's hard to find right tackles in this league.
Yes. On that, excuse you,
sorry.
Ryan. Here we go. Paul had asked about Bashaud Breeland and Muhammad Wilkerson, who's on IR. I never saw Muhammad Wilkerson play, but Bashaud Breeland. Will be interesting to see if they offer him a contract. I did talk to him last week, and I asked him, "Do you have any idea what's going on here? Have you heard anything?" And he has no idea.
Yeah, that's what he's told me too.
But he's been on quite the roller coaster of a journey across the NFL. Fans, from what I can tell, really like the guy, and that would make sense as he's the only one who's created some turnovers on the defense, and that's something that the Packers have lacked all season. So he was injured for a while too. So can he stay healthy? Did the Packers get a good enough glimpse of him through the games that he did play? So it's kind of a big question.
Yeah, what he told me was that the Packers have first dibs because he's here. There hasn't been any talks, and that's not surprising. I would think he'd be back on a pretty low salary deal. And then Muhammad Wilkerson, if Mike Pettine's defensive coordinator, I think there's a much better chance than if he's not. I mean, I think Mike Pettine was very highly responsible in bringing him in the first place. So
that transitions well into Troy's request. He says that Mike Pettine needs to go. Oh! And Mike also asks, will Pettine be back? So, leading up till today, the defense has been getting stronger over the course of the season. Today, I thought...
Gave up 31 points today against Matthew Stafford.
Except for that.
Go look, just do this. Go look at week 1, starting lineup. The personnel Mike Pettine had to work with, and look at what he had on the field today. It's entirely different. No Jair Alexander, no Kevin King. Nick Perry won't be here, but you look at Mike Daniels, you look at Kenny Clark, you look at Muhammad Wilkerson. I mean, you can say Hockland and Dix, but I think they were better without him. So there's a lot of the top talent on this defense that was not on the field today, and that's what you get when you don't play with your best players.
Let's see. Robert had asked about essentially all the tight ends except for Robert Tanyan, but we could certainly lump him in there. Asking about whether or not Jimmy Graham will be back, Lance Kendricks, Mercedes Lewis. Kind of some quiet. It's been quiet in the tight end world.
It has. I don't see, and this is, I don't have any reporting on this. I don't see why you don't bring back Lance Kendricks on a minimum salary deal. I don't see why he can't be your third or fourth tight end. The problem is they need to find some real production with your first and second tight end. And that's going to be hard because, like I said, with right tackles, there's not a lot of good tight ends out there. There just aren't. Not a lot of guys. The Packers have just had so much trouble with this position ever since Jermichael Finley's injury back in 2013. They've rotated. I mean, in hindsight, it's obvious. It's beyond obvious. They made an error in not re-signing Jared Cook. I mean, that hurts. He's had really good years in Oakland. Would have had really good years, you would think, with Aaron Rodgers. Can still run, which is something that Jimmy Graham has not shown that he can do. But other than Jared, I mean, Martellus Bennett was a bust. Jimmy Graham has been a bust. It's been a tricky position for them to get. That's why, I mean, I just don't see them bringing in 4 new tight ends. I think there's going to be some overhaul and there's going to be some retention.
Now, someone had alluded to this in the comments. I missed your name. But when you look at what's available for tight ends on the free agent market versus the draft, what would be the better path for the Packers? Pete and I had talked about this a little bit in our pregame show. If you were there with us, I talked a little bit about potentially looking in the draft for their next tight end.
Yeah, certainly. And if you're of the mind that Jimmy Graham could come back next year, even though he's going to count $12.5 million against the cap, which is absurd if you take his production into consideration. I mean, it's not even close to what they're getting. He's a good guy for a young tight end to learn from, I would think. It's just tough because they've not found the answer there. They put a lot of resources into trying to find the answer. And they've got a lot of other needs, too. I mean, it's easy to go and say the Saints pick late in the first round, which belongs to the Packers, their second first-round pick, just draft a tight end there. Well, what about if they want to go right tackle? What about if they want to double up at edge rusher? What if they want to get a safety? There's a lot of ways they can go. Tight end makes sense, but there's just a lot of things they can do there and a lot of issues they have.
Yes, so Mike had asked if we had seen Aaron Rodgers in the locker room after the game.
Nope.
So just also so you guys know, too, and maybe this is interesting tidbits of information. When a player is in the concussion protocol, they are not allowed to talk to the media.
Yeah.
So that means that Aaron Rodgers could not speak after the game. He always speaks and addresses the media after the game. However, today he did not. And that means tomorrow, unless he somehow is out of the concussion protocol overnight, he will not be addressing the media tomorrow as far as we know.
Yeah, unless they make a change from their policy, which is unlikely to happen. No, we won't be speaking with him tomorrow.
Just kind of interesting. We won't be able to tie up any loose ends. I mean, the season was kind of already written.
Yeah.
However,
I would have liked to have asked him today about his upcoming knee surgery. You know, I suspect, and just guessing, I suspect that there will be a knee surgery. But we can't say that for sure because we didn't get to talk to him. I would have liked to have asked him about that. I would like to get more information on what he called a sprained knee because a sprain goes 3 or 4 weeks, and that went maybe 3 months. I mean, there's no way that it was just a sprained knee. So it would have been nice to have been able to talk with him. He said that he would address it after the season. And this is officially after the season. It would have been nice to have asked him about that, but he obviously in concussion protocol, you don't speak to the media.
Yes, so got good things for you all to know as well. So we will not be able to quote him tomorrow. So a lot of people have been asking about Jordy Nelson and whether or not he would come back to Green Bay.
I don't know why they would want him back. They made the decision to move on from last year. I don't think anything's changed.
All right, so there's the verdict on that. Biggest surprises. Robert wants to know if there's any big surprises that we've had over the course of the season as it relates to the team.
I mean, yeah, they went 6-9-1 with Aaron Rodgers starting 16 games. I didn't know that was they had a worse record with Aaron Rodgers starting every game this season than they had with Brett Hundley starting more than half last year. That's a huge surprise. And that start right there. And I mean it. I mean, I think that as the season progressed, you could certainly tell that the season was going downward. So it wasn't like a huge surprise right in the one moment. Davante Adams not playing today. The two things that have surprised me most on this beat was one, when I was on the telephone a few years ago with BJ Raji and he was telling me he wasn't playing football anymore, and two, this. And maybe I should have been more prepared for Davante Adams to not play because he didn't practice, but he said that the injury happened early in New York. He played the entire game, catches the game-winning touchdown. After the game, he talks about taking care of the records at home the next week. I'd never even stopped to consider that he wouldn't play today. I was really shocked by that.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you, especially on the first note that you had. I came into this pretty much in season, not mid-season. But
49ers were your first game, right?
Yeah, my background on the Packers was pretty minimal, and my knowledge of who was on the team, what they were all about. Obviously I knew who Aaron Rodgers was and knew his reputation, so I kind of automatically assumed that this was going to be a competitive team to make it into the playoffs and make a run. I was proved wrong, so that has been a surprise for me. But I think that's the NFL, and I think we've learned a lot this season.
Here's the thing. I saw on Twitter a lot of, pseudo eulogies for this title window that they've had really since Brett Favre arrived in 1992. And I don't see it. I mean, it is possible, yes, that 5 years from now we can look at these two seasons and, okay, this was the official beginning of the end. This was the official closing of that window. But I think much more likely, and this is the bottom line, wins our quarterback stat. I'm sorry, it's true. And if Aaron Rodgers plays next year like he did the last 8 games of 2016 during the run the table, this team, once again, as constructed, is on the short list of contenders to win the Super Bowl. It's just a bottom line business, and the bottom line is that the quarterbacks mean that much to a team's success. They've got other issues, don't get me wrong. They're rebuilding while being contenders because of the quarterback, but so much of it is how the quarterback plays. Aaron Rodgers, by his own lofty standards, had a bad year. If he has a good year next year, which I have no idea if he will or not, I can't read the future, but if he does, they're a short-list contender team again. And one final note, check it out, for Pete Doherty's column. He's seen this happen. Our columnist Pete Doherty, 2005, first year of Ted Thompson, they go 4-12. It's a bad year. 2 years later, different head coach, same quarterback, same aging quarterback in Brett Favre. They go 13-3, and here in the stadium, they're within a whisper of going to the Super Bowl. Things can change on a whim in this league. It's built around parity. It fluctuates wildly from year to year, and the biggest factor in the fluctuation is how the quarterback plays. If you see 2016 Aaron Rodgers, which, by the way, he's 35, that's not 40. He's got years left in his prime. If you see 2016 Aaron Rodgers, this will be a team that can win a Super Bowl next year. If not, this is what you'll see. You'll see 6-9-1. You'll see a team that's not good enough for the playoffs, has got a lot of holes on the roster. I mean, that's the bottom line. It's why Aaron Rodgers got the record-breaking contract he did. It's why they pay him the money that he gets. It's a quarterback league, and his play dictates the fortunes of this team to that level.
That if you, for whatever reason, are feeling very down or whatever, what Ryan just said, I think will help put some things into perspective.
I'm full of positivity today.
See, no, whoever accused you of being negative.
Spirit.
We're going to take a few more questions, guys, before we sign off. I wanted to get to this question. Patrick, first of all, is in Jamaica. We're very jealous because it's very cold here.
It is cold.
Which 2 positions would we draft in the first round? Again, the Packers actually have the potential of selecting in the top 10, depending on how some of the other games go.
At least 12th. which is better than by 2 than last year. It's the best they've had since 2009 when they were ninth overall. Took B.J. Raji. It's a good question because here's the deal. They have neglected the edge rush position for years now, and it has deteriorated. And oh, by the way, it's only the second most important position in the game of football, behind quarterback, edge rusher. So it's obvious, right? Like, they got to go and get some edge rushers. Like, I'm talking in the draft and free agency, everything, the whole kitchen sink. Go get edge rushers. They haven't done that in the past, and they haven't done that for years. So, I mean, I want to say edge rusher, but I've said edge rusher before, and they haven't done it. So I'm just going to throw that caveat out there. Behind edge rusher, they could. I'm not kidding. They could double up at edge rusher in the first round if they like both. They can package their picks and go up as high as they want to, really top 5, if they like a guy in the first round. Behind edge rusher, safety, offensive line, especially the interior, both guard spots, but especially right guard. Tight end, as we mentioned, that's a need that they've got to fill. And then I think after that, you just go for dynamic playmakers on either side of the ball. I mean, you need as many of those as you can get. And this is a team that is lacking for those right now.
Is there anything that you would not go for in this draft? Because I think you made a pretty substantial list, but what?
I think they're good at receiver.
Okay.
I think they're good at receiver. I think they're pretty much good at running back. They might need some depth there because Aaron Jones is going to be an injury risk at this point, but they've got good depth there between him and Jamal Williams. I think that they've made a lot of the biggest strides they've made this year in personnel are cornerback, but Jair Alexander and Kevin King are both dealt with injuries and struggle to stay healthy. So how do they evaluate that is a good question, and I really don't know. Because if you've got Kevin King and Jair Alexander both on the field together, those are 2 really good cornerbacks. And then you got Josh Jackson, you bring back Rashad Breeland. You've got a little something. Tremont Williams can be kind of a chess piece in the secondary. You can't rely on him maybe at 36 for a ton of snaps, but he played a ton of snaps this year and was okay. They made big strides, especially at corner in that secondary, as much as they need to upgrade safety. But those guys haven't stayed healthy. So, I mean, that's a tough one to decipher. The middle of their defense is pretty good. Defensive line, defensive tackle especially, although they did have injuries there. Blake Martinez is a really good fit for what they have in the defensive line because Mike Daniels, Kenny Clark, even if they bring back Muhammad Wilkerson, but even if they don't, those 2 guys really eat up blockers. And then you've got a tackle machine in Blake Martinez who is limited in some coverage aspects, but he's a tackle machine with really good range. Getting to the ball carrier and a lot of freedom behind that defensive line. So the middle of the defense is pretty good. It's just that in this league, the perimeter of the defense is where games are really won. I mean, you've got to have corners, you've got to have edge rushers. They've got corners that are hurt, and they've got edge rushers that they need to replace.
Mm-hmm. So something that Pete and I discussed in our pregame show that you did not mention just now was whether or not the Packers should be looking for their next franchise quarterback in the draft this season. Is it too early for that?
Never say never. I'd be really surprised. They do have that late first-round pick. If they just love a guy, and he's a guy that maybe isn't going to go top 10, I wouldn't say impossible, but I would say very unlikely. I think it is still early. I think when we find out more about Aaron Rodgers' knee injury that he had this year, and I don't know what it is. I just can't fathom that it was just a sprained knee. What he was playing through this year, I think that his struggles will make a little bit more sense, and that age won't be the thing that people point to. I think he had a very real injury. And I just look at guys of his caliber in the league, they're playing to 40 now. They're playing beyond 40 in some cases. So I do think that Aaron Rodgers is a guy that has more good years left, and that probably the prudent thing to do is to go all in with this title window for the next couple of years.
Mm-hmm. All right, you guys, you heard it from Ryan. That is going to be the last thought that we leave you with tonight. This is our last post-game Facebook Live of the season, so we appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully, we thank you guys for joining us every Facebook Live that we've done. It's been a lot of fun interacting with you guys.
And you're still going to do some during the off season,
Oh yeah,
right?
no, we're not done. This is not it.
See a lot of Olivia, especially.
Yeah, there's gonna be lots to talk about, lots to cover in the off season, obviously with the head coach search and of course the draft. So there's a lot to chat about. So we will see you very soon. However, this is our last post-game show. So thank you guys so much. Happy New Year. Happy, healthy New Year. Have a good night, you guys. We will talk to you very soon.